like clock, I can't stop. Fuck around, make my 40 pop. No popcorn, I pop pistols. Reaming my body, clothing no issue. Bitch, you look sick, you need a tissue. You drop a body, I just might bless you. I'm metrosexual.
What is up, guys? It's Wraith here, back with another video. Now, in today's video, I'm going to be going over probably one of the most important Fortnite techniques, and that's how to win endgame and how to do well in endgame. Now, obviously, in every single World Cup game and every single arena game, it's so important to know how to do well in endgame and even potentially win the game. So yeah, if you're looking forward to this video, make sure you slap a like, make sure you comment what I can do for a future video, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and make sure you use creator code WraithFN in the item shop. Let's get right into it. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is finally, you've made it to endgame, you're here, you're top 30, top 25 right now, you're hyped, you're ready to go. There's a couple things right now that you need to look at before you even worried about winning the game or placing it higher. So the first thing you have to worry about is your mobility. Now, this is probably the most important thing to have in endgame. So now when I'm talking about mobility, there's a couple things. There's shadow bombs, there's launch pads, rift-to-goes, there's ballers, glider redeploys, etc., etc. Now, obviously, it's super important to have some of these, and the reason for that is if you only have, let's say, 1,200 mats, you're not going to be able to survive all like 5, 4, whatever there is, moving circles, right? It's very important to have some form of mobility to get around the map, because with 40 other peoples, if you're just running through the circle, or if you're just think you're getting turtle all the way there, you're going to get beamed. Like, not really much you can do, so it's just super important to have at least something, like even a launch pad or even 3 shadows is good enough. You want some form of mobility. Now, if you don't have mobility, there's a couple scenarios you have. One, you can try and W key someone and kill them and take their mobility. 2, if you have very good mats and the storm or the circle is very close to you, you can try your best to turtle towards it. 3, no matter what happens, if you don't want to W key someone, you gotta rotate early. If you rotate like last and you rotate behind everyone and you get storm sucked, so for example, someone starts shooting you and you're forced to build, but you don't have a rift to go, you don't have shadows or anything, you're basically dead to storm, or you're dead to that person just pressuring you, right? Very important. If you don't have any mobility and you don't think you can get any, make sure you rotate early. Like, don't rotate early to the point where you're literally just gonna be the only person rotating, because you're gonna get absolutely beamed, obviously, but try your best to rotate as quick as possible. Now, the second thing I'm going to talk about, and I just kind of talked about this really quickly in the first one, is mats. Make sure you have mats. Again, if you only have 20 mats, 30 mats, like you only have like 5 to 6 builds, you have to W key someone. You don't really have an option. Like, you can try your best to just kind of hide behind people's builds and just run in slowly and stuff, but eventually you're going to get beamed and you're going to get targeted, and nothing is going to go well over that, right? It's very important to have mats and mobility, but mats is extremely important when it comes to those late turtling circles where you have to turtle no matter what and you have to tunnel. So like I said, if you don't have any mats, which again, the entire map and the entire match, you should be mining mats no matter what. But obviously, if you get in a fight or whatever happens, you lose a lot of mats, you get stun bombs, you have to tunnel a lot. Whatever the case is, make sure you have mats. If you don't, again, you're probably going to have to W key someone. I know it's not the best thing. Definitely not fun when there's 15 people left and they're all rotating, you have to W key someone. But trust me, it's so important to have a good amount of mats, and it could literally mean the difference between life and death. Then the next thing I'm going to talk about is if you have mats or mobility, especially if you have mats, you don't even really need mobility. Try your best to take height. Now, height is so important late game. I can't even describe how important it is. If you watch, let's say, I don't know, Tfu's games, or for something like, for example, Tfu. Yeah, let's say Tfu. In his qualifiers to the World Cup in the finals, almost every single game that he wins, it's because he has height. Now, obviously, I'm not saying the only way you can win is if you have height, but you have a way better chance. And the reason for that is basically when you're on height, you don't have to worry about someone coming from behind you or above you unless you hear a rift to go, which if that's the case, then you can just look straight up and shoot the person in the rift to go. And all you have to worry about for the other pressure is people building up to you, and that's pretty easy to tell if someone's building up to you, and you can just spray them down or get a couple clean shots. But the big advantages of height is, like I said, it's really hard if you get a shot as long as you don't get shot down. And also, you can just pick people off when they're rotating. A lot of people struggle if they're low on mats, they won't build above them. If they have no mats, or even sometimes if you just spray their builds, they won't have a quick enough reaction. They'll be low health and you'll be able to dink them all their health dead, right? So even if you get height and you have 50 health, no matter what, you still should be able to get that much back, because you should be able to target people and absolutely clap people on the low ground. Now, two things, like I said, to keep in mind when you're on height. One, watch for rifters and watch for shadow bombs or ballers. Make sure, because everyone tries to get height, because that's how important it is. Everyone tries their best no matter what to get height, and you ought to be aware of that. You got to make sure if there's a rift, you're looking up, you're ready for me, you place a ramp or you place a floor with a trap on it. Whatever the case is, make sure someone doesn't land on you for height. Number two, unless you have glider you deploy, but even if you do, try not to stay 15, 16 stories up. You only want to be 2 to 3 stories up above the next person on height. You don't want to be too high, where the fact is if you get shot down, you're going to die from you're going to die from fall damage. And even if you have glider redeploy, being that high isn't that good, because you're just giving yourself a less chance of getting those kills low ground. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about is know what points you're at. Now, this isn't really a tip towards endgame, but this is an important thing to keep in mind. So now, obviously, if you're playing arena, you're just trying to get as many points as possible, so that's okay. You can just play your play style. But let's say if you're trying to qualify for the World Cup or whatever the case is, you're going in the finals or whatever, you need to know how many points you're at. Now, if you're in the qualifiers to the finals, and most of the time the cutoff is around 35 to 39 points for NA West and NA East, and then you're up like 60, I think it is. If you're not that close to that, you're probably going to have to W key some kids if it's your last couple games. You're probably going to need to get more points, because even if you win the game, you're still probably not going to qualify for the finals because you don't have enough points, right? If you're going for the actual World Cup, and you're at 50 points, and you know the next top 5 is at around 50 to 60 points, you're probably going to have to W key a little bit. You're going to need to get a little bit more kills. Unfortunately, even if you win the game, you're still not going to have enough points that pushes you up that next level. But obviously it's different if you're only like 2 to 3 points from qualifying for the finals, qualifying for the World Cup, qualifying for money, or whatever the case is. Then maybe you should play a little bit more passive, worry about just those 2-3 points from getting placement. It all depends on your points of how your play style. Like I said, if you really need points, then you're gonna have to be more aggressive. Like that's just kind of has to happen. You have to have that pop-off game that you get 5 to 7, 8 kills, whatever the reason is, right? It's very, very important to know what points you're at and what your goal is. If you're looking for the World Cup, you got to make sure you get as much points as possible, and you need to be aware of where people around you are. You're just looking to qualify, make sure you know the cutoff, and make sure you know what points you're at. Now, the last tip I'm actually going to give you is protect yourself before being aggressive. Now, after rewatching, I think Benji Fishy's end games dozens of times, I've learned that the best thing he does and what makes him such a great player end game is he gets so many kills and doesn't die somehow. And I was like, how does this kid do it? He never gets targeted, like he never gets shot at, and he just claps people. And the reason he does how he does all this is he boxes up, and then he makes that edit, and then he makes that shot, or then he starts to build people up. A lot of people I see only will cover 2 walls, or they'll box up, but one of the walls is someone else's, and they just won't worry about it, and they get edited on and they die. Benji Fishy makes sure all the walls are him. He edits, and then he goes for the kill. Never go for the kill if you're unprotected from other sides. Obviously, if you're in the storm and you're rotating in or something, it's a little bit of a different story. But if you have the ability to box up and protect yourself and make sure no one else can shoot at you, trust me, it's so much worth it to do that, then go on the aggression before going on the aggression. Say, for example, you're just on a ramp and you don't box behind you and you kill someone. Well, someone's going to become rotating behind you because there's so many people end game, and he's just going to absolutely destroy you in the back. If you took that 2 second and those 20 mats and built 2 walls behind you and to the side, that thing is not going to happen. You can actually protect yourself, and then someone's not going to be able to kill you, right? It's so important to make sure you're protected before you're going aggressive. Again, even in the end game, if you're or even in the middle circles, if you're just waiting there and taking shots at people, make sure you have walls behind you and you're protected from every other direction, or else you're going to get sniped, you're going to get billed, whatever the reason is. Again, closing your edits, super important. Make sure you're always protected. That's the one thing I'm going to let you guys know. Super important. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you comment what I can do for a future video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and use creator code WraithFN in the item shop. And I'll see you guys all in the next one. Have a good one, guys.